There's a lot of different ways to show craziness, and we're gonna dish them all. We're gonna put them on a platter for you, and you get to choose which crazy you like the best. Maybe it's a chocolate covered crazy.
Dysfunction. Yep.
I want to learn a little bit more about your characters kind of through your eyes, the way you see them. I think what I'm curious about is like at the point that we meet them in the present day timeline, what would you say it is that they want most out of life? Maybe they don't know, but I'm curious if you have a sense of like, what what are they hoping for? I mean, I think we meet Natalie at a really interesting point. So maybe Juliet, I'll pose that to you first.
I know, it's fascinating because what does she want? She's going home, a place she hates, to people she doesn't like. Why doesn't she like them? I don't know. We learn. To play such animosity and friction and soul death is sort of the content of my character. Deep dive into pain and towing the line of destruction. And it's interesting. You will be very blown away of where my character ends up. Some of my favorite moments were with Melanie, because I have adored her since the beginning of time, where I was riveted in the first thing I ever saw her in. And so when we get to dance a little bit together, that was very exciting.
So then, Melanie, what can you tell me about Shauna, especially when we first meet her in the present timeline in this series?
I think if you were to ask her what she wants, she would be like, a quiet life, a nice glass of wine, a vacation in Hawaii. Like, I think she's tranquility, no traffic. Like she's trying to really appear like she's a very normal sort of held together suburban woman, but deep down, if she was to really ask herself, she would be like passion, intensity, wildness.
Oh, that's interesting.
5 lovers at the same time. Like, she's so much more intense and darker than she allows herself to believe. And so it just comes out like in ways that are deeply unhealthy. And I do just want to say, because Juliet was just so sweet, I was at home one day and I can't remember what episode, and I said, I'm just going to read my new episode. And when I finished, my nanny was like, do you have scenes with Juliet yet? And I didn't realize I had been talking about how much I wanted that so much. I'm so obsessed with Juliet. Like, everything she's done, I will watch and rewatch scenes of her work just to be like, how it's like a magic trick. It just, I'm so obsessed. And then to work together was just one of the greatest joys. It was just so fun.
I think what she wants is to return to a time when she was valued, accepted, had some social currency, because, in our culture, a woman like this really doesn't have any. And that would be when they were stranded. I think that is probably the greatest time of her life. So she's just sort of biding her time, waiting for something like that to happen again.
For Taissa, I would say she's looking for an ideal. She's looking for perfection. She's looking for a place of power, and everything in its place. As long as her life is ... then she can say nothing's wrong with her. And so that's what she wants most of all.
I mean, the now and then comparison is obviously funny because we've got Christina Ricci right in this, but I love obviously what this allows us to see of these characters. That, we get this really full portraits of these people. I'm curious then, you don't have any screen time that I know of with your counterparts in the series. So what went into that and creating these characters? Were there initial meetings before filming started? Did you get to see them on set at all?
I initially, before we shot the pilot, met Sophie Nélisse, and this like beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed French Canadian came in, and she was like, "We don't look anything alike." And I was like, "Oh, you're right," And we didn't really. She was worried that my voice was high. I feel like Sophie was worried that she was going to have to do a lot of work to make it match up. And then I think she's such a good actor. And there's something like inherent in our mannerisms that really works. And also she dyed her hair. She had to wear contacts. Like it's easier to make blue eyes. So she had to do that.
Yeah.
She had to sort of like do a lot of that kind of work. I mean, I just think there's something, she's so natural and she's so good at, like, I think she embodied something and she just made it work.
The casting on this show is so phenomenal. Me and Sophie related very well. She has a low, because my voice, I was almost like Froggy when I was 8 years old, lower, like, I don't know. And she has a lower voice, but she said she was pitching it or placing it there. They both were, all the kids, they're young adults, but all of them were so good at really taking from us and influencing their presence. But it's the testament to the casting that there was something organic about our disposition. We just, there was a resonance there that was compatible. And so we would talk about our Natalie together. It was really neat. And I adore her. She lives in New York and she's a girl I would hang out with.
Samantha and I met when we first got to Vancouver to discuss, we weren't told very much about the show, where it was going, where our characters were going, any of that stuff. So everybody sort of had a lot of conversations about, like, what did they tell you? What do you, those kinds of things. So I met with Sam and we discussed Misty and the references that she'd been given versus the references that I'd been given. And our plan for the first episode, the second, because we had already shot the pilot. So the plan for the second episode and our individual plans. And then beyond that, if they, sometimes throughout the season, there are scenes that mirror each other in the flashbacks in the present day. And so whoever shot their version of this thing first would set how that was played later on. And she and I would call each other about that kind of thing.
Right. And not to really say anything too specific to give it away. I mean, Tanya, I think we do really see that in episode 3 with Taissa in various stages of her life.
Yeah, it's true. Like Christina, Jasmine and I met up when we first got to Vancouver. We had tacos together in the park and just talked about life and ourselves and each other and stuff like that, because we knew nothing about what was going to happen. But we continued to meet up when the scripts would come out. We'd get together hopefully try to get together once a week and discuss the scripts. More for me than her, because I think that it was important. She is my history. So it was important for me to know how she was doing something, how she was approaching something. Not that I was going to echo it per se, but that it was in me, that I knew what was going on then, where my head was at that point. Jasmine herself lived in the sister building to my building when we lived in Vancouver. And when we both got there, we both came with our cats, and we were the only ones that did. And so we shared keys with each other, our extra set of keys. And she came over and watched my cats sometimes when I had to work late, stuff like that. So it became, I saw her a lot, and we definitely, we're in each other's worlds a lot, but then there were specific things. Something comes up in episode 6 that a specific movement that Taissa makes that she doesn't know that she makes. And so we worked on a specific movement that we both do exactly the same way that you'll just have to see.
A little tease there. There's so many great music, like needle drops in this. It's the 90s in 96 in the flashbacks. I'm curious, is there like one song that is just the definitive song of the era for either of you that you just are like, that is my 90s song?
I mean, I have an entire playlist.
Oh my God, good.
Come on, it's Mazzy Star, PJ Harvey. Oh my God,
Harvey for me. PJ Harvey was my PJ Harvey, Nick Cave. PJ Harvey with Nick Cave. God, there's so many. I really loved Hole as well. Like all that.
Mhm.
I love that record.
God,
Yeah.
so
It's
good.
good. There's a really good needle drop for Dreams, the Cranberries, when they're like playing in the lake. Oh God, so many good songs. Is there like one song or maybe an artist or album that is like your 90s song album? I see you shaking your
Yes.
head, Tawny. Yeah.
Yes, Jane's Addiction, Nothing Shocking.
Wow.
Definitely.
Nice.
I know every word to that album. It's
Oh,
that's
man.
I love that album so much.
I was a huge Pixies fan from 11.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
well, I mean, I'm still a fan, but I mean, like, obsessed. So anything from, anything from Doolittle.
As I kind of mentioned, I've seen the first 3 episodes, but there's still a lot of gaps to fill in. I'm very curious about where things are going to go. I can't wait to see more. I think like assuming, people will go in maybe only having seen the trailer, or they'll watch this interview having seen the first episode at least. What can you tell me? What can you tease about the journey that we're in for? That's the big question.
I would say it gets really extreme. They always say that people who've experienced a lot of extreme things in their life are not necessarily as good at guarding against extreme things coming into their lives later on. Like you see it with abuse victims and stuff.
Yeah.
So as adults, like things are going to happen that you're just like, that's not something that happens to people, a lot of really like surprising to say the least things happen to them, and they do a lot of very shocking things.
Yeah, I'm going to
Wonderful
say
things.
that there's a lot of different ways to show craziness, and we're gonna dish them all. We're gonna put them on a platter for you, and you get to choose which crazy you like the best. Maybe it's a chocolate covered
Full
crazy.
dysfunction. Yeah.
All I know is that what happened was a tragedy.
Hello, Misty, you crazy bitch. It's been a while. I take it you know why I'm here.
Okay, I'm out of here.
We agreed, say no more than we have to. The truth is, the plane crashed. A bunch of my friends died. And then the rest of us starved and scavenged and prayed until they finally found us.
I think we both know there's more to it than that.